Now see, this is Lagrange's method of undetermined multipliers. During the last few classes, we were discussing about how to find maxima and minima of functions of several variables. Right? See, when we are given a function of two variables, if you just recall all this procedure, when you are given a function of two variables, see, we are first finding what you call stationary points by differentiating this function of two variables with respect to these two variables, once with respect to x and then next with respect to the other independent variable y. And then we are just equating these two derivatives to zeros, correct? And then you see, by solving these two equations, whatever the pairs of values you'll get, we are just calling all those pairs together as stationary points. Then see, in the process of finding maxima and minima for a function of two variables, it is, the first step is here to find the stationary points. Once after you got the stationary points, at some of these stationary points, as we know, we may get some extreme values. We may get minima or maximum. And to find out exactly where we get minimum or maximum, we are just evaluating what you call the second order derivatives. So you're just calling them by these names, L, M, and N. Right? So when you take dou square f by dou x square, we are taking it as L. Then when it is dou square f by dou x dou y, we are taking it as M. And when it is dou square f by dou y square, we are taking it as N. Then see, after calculating these three, at each stationary point, you are just evaluating, this one, ln minus m square. And after getting this, you are just verifying certain conditions. By chance, if ln minus m square is greater than 0 and L is also greater than 0, then at a particular point, if you got this condition, if this condition is satisfied at a particular stationary point, then we are saying at that stationary point, the function attains its minimum, right? Then see, when this condition satisfied, ln minus m square is greater than 0, but L is less than 0, then in this case, we said, the function attains its maximum at that stationary point. And in case if ln minus m square is less than 0, we can say there is no minimum, no maximum at that stationary point, and further you can also say it is a saddle point, isn't it? And when ln minus m square is equals to 0, we cannot say anything about extreme points at that stationary point, extreme values at that stationary point. And we can also say some further investigation is needed to conclude about the extreme values at this stationary point, right? Now see, we have just extended this idea even for functions of three variables. Now see what we did. When you are given a function of three variables, you will be given a constraint along with this function. Let us say that constraint is something like phi of x comma y comma z is equal to 0. Right? Now you'll be given some equation of this kind in terms of all these three variables x, y, z, and you are trying to extremize this particular function. Probably you may minimize it or you may find out where it attains its maximum. Whatever it may be, you will just try to find out the extremum of this function under this particular condition. Now, right, we are calling this as a constraint. Now see, when you are given a problem of this kind, what we did, using this particular equation, we have tried to rewritten z in terms of xy, isn't it? We have just written z in terms of xy, and then by substituting this z in this function, we reduce this into a function of only two variables, and thereby again we proceed in this procedure only, right? But see, for Lagrange, all this procedure becomes too lengthy. He don't want to find, when you are given a function of three variables, as you can see here, Lagrange's multiplier technique lets you find the maximum or minimum of a multivariable function when there is some constraint on the input values you are allowed to use, right? A similar problem as you can see here. For example, if you are given a function of three variables along with a constraint of this kind. So what you need to do, as we discussed in the last class, we need to rewrite this function as a z of, we need to rewrite this function something like this, z as a function of xy. And then we are reducing the original function into a function of two variables, right? And then again, we are proceeding we are first finding the stationary points, and then you are evaluating the second order derivatives. You are doing so many things, right? And you see, you are just doing all these things at every stationary point. And while you are doing all that process, At some stationary points, you may get minimum or maximum, but at other stationary points, you are not getting anything. Then why can we exclude such points, such as stationary points? That was his idea. Can we consider only the stationary points where we get minimum or maximum? That's how he tried to work on it, and he come up with this particular method. And when we proceed in the method proposed by Lagrange's, see what we are going to get. You see, we will just find the stationary points. We will only find the stationary points where certainly there is some extreme, maybe minimum or maximum, we don't know exactly, but we will get only stationary points where you will get extremum. We don't get any chance to get either no minima, no maxima, or nothing else, right? So certainly, understand it this way. When you proceed in Lagrange's method, by chance if you get two stationary points, then you will calculate extreme values at these two stationary points. Then, for example, if you get for the first stationary point, if you get some lesser function value, and for the other, if you get some higher function value, then accordingly you can select at one stationary point you will get the minimum, and the other stationary point you will get maximum. But by chance, if you get only one stationary point, we cannot certainly decide whether we get minimum or maximum at that stationary point, but we can simply say it is an extreme value, right? So that is a point where we get extreme value, but we cannot certainly say whether it is minimum or maximum, right? So that's one drawback in the Lagrange's method. But see, the biggest advantages in Lagrange's method is we are simply avoiding all these stationary points where you won't get any kind of extreme value, right? So when we proceed in Lagrange's method of undetermined multipliers, we have no need of finding even these second order derivatives. Directly, only by finding the stationary points, we can evaluate, the function values, the extreme values, right? So directly, Lagrange's method gives us only stationary points where we get extreme values. Okay, so that's the basic idea behind Lagrange's method. Now let me just give you the working rule. I'm not getting into the proof and all these things, but we have only the working rule. How to apply Lagrange's method of undetermined multipliers to find out extreme values of a function. Now see, just to begin with, I'm considering a function of 3 variables. Look at it. I'm just considering a function of 3 variables along with a constraint phi of xyz is equals to 0. Right? Now see, this is the condition. Using this condition, we need to find where this function attains its extreme values, maybe minimum or maximum. Now see what we are doing in the first step. We are just forming, when you are given a function with a constraint, we are forming a new function. We are calling it as a Lagrangian function. This new function says, this one, capital F of xyz is equal to, see the function which you are trying to extremize plus lambda times, the given constraint, right? You are given it as is equal to 0, but we are taking only the left hand side, right? See, you are just adding the original function to lambda times the given constraint. And see here, since you are multiplying this lambda is the what you call undetermined multiplier. We are just multiplying these two, you see. We call this as Lagrange multiplier or an undetermined multiplier, right? It is undetermined because we don't even calculate the value of lambda. That is, we choose ourselves. So we don't require the value of lambda exactly. So we just take it, it's a kind of WAMP character. It comes in the middle, but it has no use, right? That's how we call it as undetermined multiplier. Now see, after forming a function of this kind, as we did in the previous case, now see how many unknowns you have. X, Y, and Z are the actual 3 unknowns, and you have chosen one unknown by choice, right? See, we have considered one more unknown, lambda now. Now see, keeping that in mind, as we have 3 unknowns x, y, z originally, see, we are just differentiating this new function capital F with respect to x, y, and z, and then we are also equating these 3 derivatives to zeros, right? A very similar thing as we did in the previous case. Now see, totally how many equations we have? One equation, the given constraint. And now from these 3 derivatives, we got another 3 equations. And how many unknowns we have? X, Y, Z. There are 3 unknowns along with lambda. That's a 4th unknown. So now we have exactly 4 unknowns, X, Y, Z, and lambda, and of course 4 equations. Now when we solve these 4 equations for 4 unknowns, we get several combinations for X, Y, and Z, right? Certainly when we proceed in this way, whatever the combinations you are getting for X, Y, Z, right? We call in fact these as stationary points. Whatever the stationary points you get here from this method, at all these stationary points, we definitely have extreme values, right? So depending on the function values you get at these stationary points, we will conclude whether, where we have either minimum or maximum. Okay, that's one simple point to remember. And the procedure is only this: you will be given a function of 3 variables, and remember, you may be given more than one constraint also sometimes. When we are given 2 constraints, here it is only 1 constraint. By choice, if you are given one more constraint along with this, let us say this is phi1, and let us say you are given one more constraint like phi2 of xyz is equals to 0. Then see, when you are given second constraint also, then see, in this case, we form the Lagrangian multiplier like this. Capital F is equals to small f, the original function, plus lambda 1 times phi1 plus lambda 2 times phi2. Right? So just we add as many number of undetermined multipliers as that of number of constraints. Okay, so the only thing here is how to form Lagrangian function. Once after we form this Lagrangian function, the remaining thing is only to differentiate this new function with respect to all the 3 variables and equating them to zeros. And of course the remaining part is only to solve those equations. Right? So this is basically the simple idea of finding extreme values using what you call Lagrangian method of undetermined multipliers. Yeah, let's look at a question. Yeah, take this one. Now see, you're asked to find the minimum value of x square plus y square plus z square, given that xyz is equals to y cube. Now see, you are given just what you call conditions, only some kind of relations in terms of x, y, and z. Now using that, can we identify which is f and which is phi? Right? As we discussed in the previous slide, normally we take the function which is to be minimized or maximized. We take it as normally f, and the constraint we take it as phi. Okay, so this kind of standard notation. Right? Now see, which is the function to be extremized here? For example, here it is asked to minimize. So which function you are trying to minimize? Let us take that as f, and here it is x square plus y square plus z square. Right? So I'm just taking it like this. Let f of xyz is equals to x square plus y square plus z square. Then, and the condition whatever you are given here, I'm taking it as phi of xyz. And see how much it is, xyz. I'm bringing a cube to the left hand side. Minus a cube is equals to 0. Right? Now, just by looking at the functions given in the question, I've identified f as well as phi. Now, after identifying these two, I'm just trying to form the Lagrangian function. The Lagrangian function is, see how much it is, capital F is equals to small f of, if you want you can even write this as f of xyz is equals to f of xyz plus, because you have only one constraint, I'm taking it as simply lambda times phi of xyz. Right, now let me just substitute everything into this. It is equals to, see the function what you are given, it is x square plus y square plus z square, then plus lambda times, I'm just substituting this relation phi in place of this. So it is now xyz minus aq. Right? Now see, you got now that required Lagrangian function. Now see, I'm just taking this as equation number 1 for convenience. Now let me take this as equation 2. Now consider, I'm just trying to differentiate capital F with respect to x. dou f by dou x. I'm also equating that to 0 because we are not going to use this dou f by dou x further, right? That's how I'm directly equating this to 0 here itself is equals to R. See how much if you differentiate this, differentiation of x square is 2x. And when we differentiate it with respect to x, as we know, differentiation with respect to y as well as z, in fact, these two are constants. So their differentiations are also zeros, isn't it? So plus, I'm not writing them then, lambda times. When we differentiate x, y, z with respect to x, y, z is a constant, so I'm writing it y, z. And when you differentiate x, it is only one, right? And even when you differentiate a cube, it is 0. So I'm not writing those things. Let this be directly 0. Right now, let me take this as equation 3. Then similarly, if I differentiate f with respect to y, and I'm also equating this to 0, then what you get here, you see, when you differentiate f with respect to y, here you will get only 2y because x square and z square, they are constants and therefore their differentiations are zeros. Plus lambda times, when you differentiate xyz with respect to y, it is xz is equals to 0. And now I'm taking this as equation 4. I'm just writing it here, you see. And see, now I'm differentiating f with respect to z. And then see what happens. You get it, these things, 2z plus lambda times y xy is equals to 0. And I'm taking this as equation 5. Now see, we got 3 equations, in fact 4 equations. One is equation 1 and the remaining 3 are 3, 4 and 5. Now the question is how to solve these 4 equations. Okay. Question C, we have now these 4 equations, 1, 3, 4 and 5. By solving these 4 equations for these 4 unknowns, x, y, z and lambda, we need to find the required, these values, combinations of x, y, z, right? In fact, we take those combinations as stationary points. Okay. Now see, the question is to find the stationary points by solving these 4 equations. Let us see how, what can we do in that case. I'm just rewriting these 3 equations first. Equation 3 can be written as, see, can I write it like this? You see, x is equals to, or else 2x is equals to minus lambda yz, right? Or else I'm just keeping lambda on one side, remaining xyz on the other side, so that I can write it like this: x by yz is equals to minus lambda by 2. Shall I write it like this? You see, right? Then I'm now taking this as some equation number 6. Now equation 4 implies similarly, you can write 2y is equals to, from this equation, 2y is equals to minus lambda into xz. So this implies you can also write it as y divided by xz is equals to, we get it as minus lambda by 2. Let me take it as some equation number 7. Then from the next equation, equation 5, we can write it like this: 2z is equals to minus lambda into xy. And therefore we can write it like this. You see, I'm just bringing xy to the left hand side. Z divided by xy is equals to minus lambda by 2. I'm just taking it as equation number 8. Now see, when you look at these 3 equations, 6, 7 and 8, in all the 3 equations, see, the right hand sides are equal, so that the left hand sides must also be equal, isn't it? So by comparing 6, 7 and 8, therefore from equations 6, 7 and 8, see what can we write? I'm just equating all the left hand sides. X by yz is equals to y by xz. And this is equals to, I'm writing only the left hand sides, xz by xy. And all these 3 equals to minus lambda by 2. Right? Now see, I can take now, because all those are equal, I can take any 2 combinations. Right? I'm just taking the first 2 here. I'm just considering it this way. Consider x by yz is equals to y by xz. This implies, how can we write this? You see, I'm just cancelling z here. All right, because see, you are given xyz is equals to a cube. So I cannot take, because you are not of course given, but certainly A is not equal to 0. You can just understand it that way, right? So you cannot take any of these three as zeros. So that Z can also be not equal to 0. Z cannot be equal to 0. Since Z is not equal to 0, I can just cancel this on either sides. I can cancel this Z. Okay. Then since I can cancel that, what I can write, you see, if I take cross multiplication, I can write x square is equals to y square. Right. So from this, I'm just trying to write it like this. Or else let it be like this. And let me consider the next combination. Consider, if I take this next combination, it is y by xz is equals to z by xy. And see, here also I can, in a similar way, x can be cancelled. Then see, from this now you can write it as y square is equals to z square. Therefore, from these two relations, we can write x square is equals to y square is equals to z square. Right? Now, this implies, because all these three squares are equal, we can also write x is equals to y is equals to z. All right? Then, now if you take the constraint, the other one. Now see, till now, we have only used these 3, 4, 5. Right? We have not yet used this first equation. Now let me take that one. Now, therefore, from equation 1, we have actually this xyz is equals to a cube, implies because x, y, and z, all the three are equal, we get this as x cube is equals to a cube, from which we can write x is equals to a. And when x is a, automatically we can write y and z are also equals to a. Right? So see what you are getting, you are only getting one stationary point. So therefore, the only stationary point is a comma a comma a, right? And therefore the extreme value is f of a comma a comma a, right? Then therefore that is f of a comma a comma a is equal to, see the function what you are given is x square plus y square plus z square. I'm just substituting this value there. So it is a square plus a square plus a square, which is equals to 3a square. See, certainly we don't know whether this value is minimum or maximum, but as it is given in the question to find the minimum value, we are just taking this as the minimum value. Therefore, the minimum value is 3a square. Right. Look at this question. Now see, you're asked to find the minimum and maximum values of x plus y plus z subject to this constraint. So you see, as you're asked to find the maximum and minimum values of this function, I'm taking it as x plus y plus z. I'm taking it as f of x, y, z. It is x plus y plus z. And see, here is some equality. It is an equation. See, this is an expression, and here this is an equation. Expression is the function which is to be extremized, and equation is the constraint what you need to use. So here I'm taking that constraint as phi. Phi of x plus x comma y comma z is equals to, it is 1 by x plus 1 by y plus 1 by z minus 1 is equals to 0. Right? So now, after identifying these two, we need to form the Lagrangian function. The Lagrangian function is capital F is equals to, as we know it is, f of xyz plus lambda times phi of xyz. And then see, therefore it is, that is, a capital F is equal to, I'm just substituting this, you see, x plus y plus z plus lambda times 1 by x plus 1 by y plus 1 by z minus 1. Then see, I'm just trying to differentiate this with respect to all the three variables. So it is dou f by dou x Let's see how much it is. When you differentiate x, it is 1. For y and z, as they are constants, their derivatives are simply zeros, plus lambda times, when you differentiate 1 by x, it is minus 1 by x square. And for the remaining 3 terms, you can see they are all just constants. So their derivatives are also zeros, right? So let me also equate this to 0 here itself, so that the things become easy for us. This is, I'm equating to 0. Next, if you differentiate f with respect to y and equate this to 0, see what happens when you differentiate it with respect to y, you will get 1 plus lambda times. Now see, when you differentiate this, it is minus 1 by y square is equals to 0. Then see, as we did in the previous problem, I'm now differentiating it with respect to z also. Now see, if you differentiate f with respect to z, see again the similar way, you'll get it as 1 plus lambda times minus 1 by z square is equals to 0. Right, see, let me just give some numbers to all these equations. Let me take this as equation 1 as usually. I'm taking it as equation 2. Then this is 3. This is equation 4. And now this is equation 5. Now see, I'm just trying to rewrite these equations again. From equation 3, see what you have actually 1, and see here it is plus into minus, it is all minus. So when you send this term to the other side, it becomes lambda times 1 by x square. Right now from this, we can write x square is equals to lambda, or else we can write x is equals to plus or minus square root of lambda. Okay. And then see what happens when you take this. I'm writing it as equation number 6. Then now equation 4 can be written like this. 1 is equals to, as we write here in this previous step, now it is 1 by y square. Now from this thing, we can write y square is equals to lambda, or else we can write y is equals to plus or minus root lambda. I'm taking now this as equation 7. Then from the 5th equation, we can write 1 is equals to lambda times 1 by z square. And now from this, we can write like this, z square is equals to lambda. And this implies we can also write z is equals to plus or minus root lambda. I'm taking this as equation number 8. Now see, if you look at these 3 equations again, equation 6, 7, and 8, the right hand sides are quite same. So that I'm also equating these left hand sides. So this implies, therefore, from equations 6, 7, and 8, we can write x is equals to, y is equals to, z is equals to plus or minus root lambda. Right? Now let's keep this aside. Now let me take the other constraint. Right? What it is? The condition what you are given in the question. I'm just using this now to calculate particularly the values of x, y, z. So therefore, from equation 1, you see actually the equation is this. It is 1 by x plus 1 by y plus 1 by z is equals to 1. Now see, instead of x, y, z, I'm substituting these things. Right? Now see what happens then. 1 by, I'm just substituting only plus root lambda for convenience. 1 by root lambda plus 1 by root lambda is equals to 1. So then this implies, when you add these 3, see, understand, I'm substituting only plus root lambda. Similarly, you can also substitute minus root lambda to get the other values, right? You will realize that now. See, when it is this, what you get, when you substitute this, minus 3 by root lambda is equals to 1. So this implies you can write root lambda is equals to 3. You can just take cross multiplication, root lambda is equals to 3. And therefore, when you take square on both sides, what you get, you see, lambda is equals to 3 square, which is 9. Right? Now you can understand what if you substitute minus root lambda here. By chance, if you substitute minus root lambda, what happens? Here you will get minus root lambda is equal to 3. That's the only thing. But when you anyway square it, taking square on either sides, right? When you take square, you know, even if it is minus, it becomes positive only, right? But see, while taking root lambda, you know, you are going to back substitute this here. While taking root 3, you can anyway take these plus or minus. Okay, let me just take that now. So therefore, we can write x is equals to y is equals to z is equals to plus or minus root 9. I've just substituted the value of lambda as 9. Right? Now see, from this, we can write the stationary points. Right? So once you can take plus 3, root 9 is plus or minus 3, you know. Once you take all the 3 as plus 3, and once more you can take all the 3 as minus 3. There you are. So therefore, the stationary points are 3, 3, 3 and minus 3, minus 3, minus 3. You can take all the 3. In fact, all the 3 must be same, but all the 3 may be either plus 3 or all the 3 may be minus 3. Now see, we got now 2 stationary points this time. Normally at one stationary point, you know, since you got 2 stationary point, at one stationary point you may get minimum, and at other stationary point you may get maximum. And there are few instances, remember, at both the stationary points you may get the same function value. That is also possible. Okay, in that case also, again, we cannot identify exactly whether it is minimum or maximum. But once after we get the function values, let us conclude that. Now at these stationary points, I'm just calculating the extreme values. Therefore, the extreme values are, I'm just calculating the function values at these 2 stationary points, f of 3, 3, 3. See, the function what you are given is actually x plus y plus z. So I'm just substituting these 3 in f. So there, you know, here it is 3 plus 3 plus 3. It is plus 9. And at other stationary point, f of minus 3, minus 3, minus 3. See, you'll get this function value as minus 9. See, they are different. As we know, 9 is the maximum and minus 9 is the minimum among these 2. So therefore, you can say the minimum function value, the minimum value of f is minus 9, and the maximum value of f is plus 9. Like this, you can just conclude about minimum and maximum values when we use Lagrangian method of undetermined multipliers. Okay. Now let's look at this question. Find the maximum of u is equals to x square y cube z power 4 if 2x plus 3y plus 4z is equals to a. Now see, you are trying to maximize this function. Right, so for my convenience, because I'm habituated to f, I'm just, though it is given as u here, I'm just taking that function as f. F is equals to x square y cube z power 4. Right, so if you want to just continue with u, it's up to you. Right, but for my convenience, I'm just taking it as f. And the condition what you are given here, I'm taking it as phi. Phi of x, y, z is equals to 2x plus 3y plus 4z minus a. Right? Now see, as usually, you can just form the Lagrangian function. Is capital F is equals to f plus lambda times capital phi. So that is, if you just substitute everything, f is equals to f, small f, it is x square y cube z power 4 plus lambda times, it is 2x plus 3y plus 4z minus a. Right, see? Now after getting this, as we did in the previous 2 problems, I'm just differentiating f with respect to x and equating this to 0. Now see, when we do this, right, see, as we know, while differentiating it with respect to x, both y and z are constants. So I'm just writing this y cube z power 4 as they are. And then the remaining here is x square. When you differentiate x square, we get it as 2x plus lambda times. Now see, if you differentiate 2x, it is 2. And for the other terms, you know, as they are constants, derivative is 0. Right? I'm just equating this to 0. Okay, then I'm differentiating f with respect to y and equating this to 0. Now see, as we are differentiating it with respect to y, both x square and z power 4 are constants. You can keep them aside. And here it is y cube now. See, when you differentiate y cube, it is 3y square plus lambda times. Now see, when you differentiate 2x and 4z, as they are constants, the derivative is 0. But for this 3y, the derivative is only 3. And I'm equating this out to 0. In a similar way, when we differentiate f with respect to z, see what happens? Now x square and y power 3, these two are actually constants. And when you differentiate z power 4, it is 4z cube. Plus now lambda times, see here it is 4z. When you differentiate that, it is 4, and I'm equating this to 0. Right, see, I'm just giving some numbers to these equations. Let me take this as equation 1. No need to give this as a number. Let me take this as equation 2, this as equation 3, and this as equation 4. Right, now let us just rewrite these equations. See what happens. Equation 2 implies, how can we rewrite this equation? You see, you have actually this y cube, let me just write it like this, 2x into y cube z power 4 is equals to minus 2 lambda. Right, I'm just sending this term to the other side. Right, I've just multiplied these three. I've written 2x first, then y cube z power 4 is equal to, it is minus 2 lambda. Let me just give as a new number 5. Next, from equation 3, you can see we'll get this 3x square. Let me also do one more thing. Can we cancel this 2 on either sides? That is quite easy. So therefore, we will get this equation, xy cube z power 4 is equals to only minus lambda. Now let me give this as equation 5. Now from equation 3, you can see now 3x square y square z power 4. As you can see here, 3x square y square z power 4 is equals to minus 3 lambda. Right, I've sent this to the other side. Right, as in this, as in the previous case, here also we can cancel this 3 and see what remains there. Right, so this implies we get only these terms, x square y square z power 4 is equals to minus lambda. Now let us take this as equation 6. You can observe I'm trying to get same thing on the right hand side again. Now then equation 4 implies, now see how can we write this, 4x square y cube z cube is equals to actually minus 4 lambda. So you can cancel this 4 again. Then we get x square y cube z cube is equals to lambda. I'm sorry, minus lambda. Let's see, I'm taking this as equation 7. Right now, see, when we compare these three equations, therefore, from equations 5, 6, and 7, right? So we can just equate all these left-hand sides. So this implies we get from equations 5, 6, and 7, we have, see what relation we have, xy cube z power 4 from the equation 5 is equals to x square y square z power 4 is equals to x square y cube, or else let's do one thing, because anyway we need to simplify the values of x, y, and z. Instead of taking all the three simultaneously, let us take only 2. Right, let us take only first 2 equations, 5 and 6. This is quite comfortable for us. Now see, from these 2 equations I can equate these left hand sides. So what you get, you see, x y cube z power 4 is equals to x square y square z power 4. Right, now see, I can just cancel this z power 4 on either sides, and then I can cancel even 1x. So only I'll get 1x on the right hand side, and on the left hand side I can cancel this y square, you see. So we'll get y on the left hand side. So we'll get simply y is equals to x. Okay, Now let me just take this as some equation number 8. Now see, let us take these two combinations, equation 6 and equation 7. Now from equation 6 and 7. See, I'm just writing the left hand sides. What it is, x square y square z power 4 is equals to, see in the 7, x square y cube z cube, x square y cube z cube. And see what happens, you can again cancel, what you can cancel here is x square. So then if you cancel one z power 3 on either sides, you get one z on this left hand side, and then you can cancel y square on both sides. So on the right hand side, you will get a y. Now let me give this as equation 9. See, when you look at equation 8, it is x is equals to y, and here it is y is equal to z. So therefore, from equations 8 and 9, we can write x is equals to y is equals to z. Right? Now, from equation 1, see the condition what you are given. See what condition you are given. It is 2x plus 3y plus 4z is equal to a. Here I am substituting x is equal to y is equal to z. Now, equation 1, you are given it as 2x plus 3y plus 4z is equals to a. Right? Now, see, I'm just substituting x is equal to y is equal to z here. I'm just keeping x as it is, but instead of y and z, I'm substituting this x. So we get it like this, 2x plus 3x plus 4x is equals to a. So this implies 9x is equals to a, and this implies x is equals to a divided by 9. Right? So therefore, y and z are also equal to a by 9. Okay, now see, we got three values, one value for this combination x, y and z. So that is the only stationary point. So therefore, the stationary point is a by 9, comma, a by 9, comma, a by 9. Now therefore, the extreme value is f of f at this stationary point, a by 9, comma, a by 9, comma, a by 9. Right? So now when we substitute this, right? See, when we substitute this, that is, the extreme value is, see how much it is. The function what you are given, is this, x square y cube z power 4. I'm just substituting it is there. See how much it is equals to, see it is this, x cube y square z power 4. Sorry, x square y cube z power 4. Right, so here I'm substituting it. So we get it like this, a by 9 whole square, then a by 9 whole to the power of 3 into a by 9 whole to the power of 4, which is equals to a by 9 whole to the power of, see, you can just add all these three powers. It is 9. Right, so it is a by 9 whole to the power of 9. So we cannot actually say whether it is minimum or maximum, but in the question you're asked to find the maximum, right? That's how I'm concluding this as maximum. So therefore, the maximum value of f is, it is equals to a by 9 whole to the power of 9. Right? So like this, you can just calculate what you call minimum or maximum values using Lagrangian method of undetermined multipliers.